I am the real daughter of the Smith family who was wrongly away. My biological parents found me and wanted to take me home. My mother didn't agree. She told me, that fake daughter has a deep scheming. If you go back, she will keep framing you, and your biological parents will dislike you more and more. Your biological brother has leukemia, and they will deceive you into donating bone marrow to him. Once they've used you, they'll kick you aside, and in the end, you'll get cancer and lose your life. I already knew everything my mother said, because she was reborn, and I transmigrated into a book. My Mia, you've suffered a lot these years. Mrs. Smith held my hand with an excited expression on her face. I frowned and made a move to break free. Who are you? The man in a suit beside her took out a report and said in a low voice, "We are your biological parents. We've been looking for you for a long time, and we've finally found you." It was a paternity test report. They told me that when I was born, due to the nurse's mistake, the Smith family accidentally exchanged children with the Duncan family. The daughter of my Smith family shouldn't have to suffer outside. Good child, come home with mom. Mom will definitely make it up to you in the future. Mrs. Smith took out a bank card from her bag and handed it to my mother, who was still in a daze beside me. "Ms. Kathy, thank you for raising Mia all these years. Here is 10 million yuan. It's a token of our appreciation from the Smith family. Thank you." My mother turned a blind eye to the huge amount on the bank card. "Don't try to bribe me with money. I don't need it, and our Mia won't go back to the Smith family either." Mrs. Smith's expression was as if she had been struck by lightning. She probably never considered that my mother would actually refuse 10 million yuan. Luke chimed in beside her. "Ms. Kathy, we don't mean to force you, however. After all, Mia is the person involved. Why don't we leave this matter for Mia to decide?" 3 pairs of eyes looked at me in unison. My mother was standing right beside me, arm in arm with me, very close, in front of Luke and his wife. She leaned over to me, secretively. She lowered her voice. "Mia, don't go back to the Smith family. That fake daughter has a deep scheming. If you go back, she will keep framing you, and your biological parents will dislike you more and more. Your biological brother has leukemia, and they will deceive you into donating bone marrow to him. Once they've used you, they'll kick you aside, and in the end, you'll get cancer and lose your life." I turned to look at her in shock. "Mom isn't lying to you," my mother emphasized. Mrs. Smith's face turned ugly, and she asked with an unfriendly tone and a cold face, "Ms. Kathy, are you speaking ill of my husband and me to Mia?" She looked very angry. I came to my senses and shook my head at her. "Of course not." Mrs. Smith's expression softened a bit. "Mia, let's go home. Sorry, I think what my mother said is right. Since it's been wrong for all these years, why not just let it be and keep things as they are?" With a thud, the paternity test report in Luke's hand fell to the ground. "Mia, what did you say?" He looked at me in disbelief. I smiled at the couple. The kindness of giving birth is not as great as the kindness of raising. "I'm sure you've also built a deep relationship with that adopted daughter." My mother gave me an approving look, kept nodding, and even added more impertinently, "If you really insist on taking Mia back, it's not impossible. Send that fake daughter away, and you only recognize Mia as your daughter." Mrs. Smith's face turned green immediately. "Ridiculous. It's not up to you to decide matters of our Smith family, obviously." She was reluctant to send that fake daughter away. My mother let out a cold snort and said unceremoniously, "Do you mean you want to keep both daughters?" Mrs. Smith remained silent. After a moment, she slowly said, "Lena is about to take the college entrance examination, which is the most crucial moment in her life. Our Smith family can afford to support her. Why should we send her away? Besides, where can I send her? Send her back to you to suffer with you." When Mrs. Smith said this, her gaze towards my mother was filled with a bit of disdain. My face turned cold. It was within my expectation that she wouldn't accept my mother's words. After all, the kindness of giving birth is not as great as the kindness of raising. They had been getting along with the fake daughter day and night for more than 10 years, and the depth of their relationship couldn't be explained in just a few words. But humiliating my mother in front of me. Is this the sincerity they showed when they came to ask me to return to the Smith family? My mother grabbed me and looked at her with a sarcastic expression. "Look, Mia is the genuine daughter, but even before she goes home, she already has to give way to that imposter." This sentence was very harsh, and it made Luke and his wife change their expressions. Mrs. Smith reminded my mother with a cold face, "Kathy, the person you call an imposter is your own niece." "That's right. My mother's elder brother and sister-in-law were my real adoptive parents. Unfortunately, they died in a plane crash when I was 3 years old, and then I've been living with my mother. The imposter my mother mentioned was indeed her own niece. My mother smiled indifferently. So what? She's just a stranger to me. She is indeed an imposter in the Smith family, when my mother was being righteous and impartial even to her own relatives. I was even a bit scared, not to mention Mrs. Smith, who was even more inexperienced. Mrs. Smith was pushed to the limit and, without further ado, grabbed my hand and walked towards the luxury car beside us. Mia must come home with us today, otherwise, if she continues to be with a mother like you, my child will be led astray. My mother reacted quickly and immediately grabbed my other hand. Are all of you in the Smith family so shameless? Just now you were saying one thing after another about not forcing Mia and respecting her decision. It hasn't been long, and you've gone back on your word. You're even snatching a child in the street. What's the difference between you and those shameless human traffickers? As noble as Mrs. Smith was, when she encountered a tough person like my mother, she had no choice but to admit defeat. Kathy, don't push me too far. Mrs. Smith was so angry that she said whatever came to her mind when she saw my mother snatching me from her. If you like being a mother so much, give birth to your own children. What do you mean by snatching my child? I was so angry when I heard this that I immediately pulled my hand back and ordered her, apologize to my mother. Mrs. Smith looked stunned. What did you say? I don't care what others say about my mother, but you are the only person in the world who has no right to criticize her. Do you think she has never been pregnant? She had an abortion for my sake. The other members of the Duncan family were indifferent to family affection and had never asked about me in all these years. If it weren't for my mother, it's uncertain whether Mia could still be alive in this world. Mrs. Smith looked flustered, but she said, I didn't force her. If she had given birth to that child, she wouldn't be snatching you from me. Alice, Luke's face changed slightly, and he called out sharply. But it was already too late. Although Mrs. Smith didn't speak loudly, her words were loud enough for my mother and me to hear. Luke tried to smooth things over and apologize. Kathy, Mia, don't misunderstand. Mia's mother is straightforward and didn't mean any harm. She might not have meant any harm, but she just speaks without thinking. Noble ladies from wealthy families are just like that. I went back to my mother's side and dismissed them coldly. You can go back, anyway. You still have Lena. Just pretend you never gave birth to me. Mrs. Smith was unwilling to make this trip in vain. With red eyes, she asked, I'm your biological mother. Is she more important than me in your heart? Ugh. I looked at Mrs. Smith, who looked 6 parts like me, with a face full of question marks. Although I'm her biological daughter, I'm not stupid enough to think that I'm more important than the fake daughter. My mother seemed to be on a roll today. When it came to adding insult to injury, she was like a divine helper. She burst out laughing and giggled twice. What were you thinking to compare yourself with me? Isn't this just asking for humiliation? The relationship between me and Mia over the past 10-odd years is something you can't even compare to one of my fingers. I touched my nose, although what my mother said was the truth. But it seemed a bit unkind to say it so bluntly to hit Mrs. Smith. Kathy, if you don't speak, no one will take you for a mute. Mrs. Smith looked at my mother hatefully. Some people are guilty. They are reluctant to part with the fake daughter and yet want to wrong the real daughter, so of course they don't dare to speak loudly. Unlike me, I firmly want only Mia. My mother glanced at their bank card and sneered. You gave me 10 million yuan. It's so funny. Do you think no one has 10 million yuan? Otherwise, I'll give you 20 million yuan, and you leave immediately. Unable to bear the humiliation, Mrs. Smith finally gave in. She was so angry that she grabbed Luke's hand and turned away. I think she has been completely brainwashed by Kathy. She doesn't like me, her mother, at all. In that case, the matter of going back to the Smith family ends here. Anyway, I still have Lena. Alice. Luke still wanted to persuade her, but Mrs. Smith wouldn't listen. She dragged him into the luxury car by the roadside. The car zoomed out of sight, turned into a small black dot, and finally disappeared completely. My mother finally couldn't hold on anymore. Her legs went weak, and she stumbled, almost falling to the ground. I quickly supported her. I touched her hand, and it was ice cold. Her face was also extremely pale, so weak. She was completely different from the domineering appearance she had in front of Luke and his wife just now. Mom, are you feeling unwell? I'll accompany you to the hospital. My mother took a deep breath and stopped me. I'm fine. I'm relieved that you didn't go back to that family. It seemed that regarding the arrival of Luke and his wife, my mother was far from as calm as she appeared. Mom, you already knew that I was wrongly adopted away. I looked straight at my mother and asked the doubt in my heart. I had this suspicion. After all, you don't look like my elder brother or my sister-in-law. Otherwise, why do you think the people in the Duncan family have ignored you all these years? I widened my eyes and gasped. Could it be that they think my mother did something to betray my father? My mother snorted softly, tacitly agreeing with this statement. These people have such dark thoughts. My parents had such a good relationship. How hateful. No wonder the other members of the Duncan family never gave me a good look whenever we met and even sneered at my mother. Mom, how do you know that the daughter of the Smith family has a deep scheming and that my biological brother has leukemia? I came to my senses and asked quickly. This was the key to the problem. My mother's expression froze, and she answered with an ugly face. I dreamed about it. A dream? How can that be? I blurted out. My mother grabbed my hand and said seriously, haven't you heard of prophetic dreams? This is a warning from heaven to you. It implies that the Smith family is a place full of trouble. If you go back, you'll have endless troubles and be trapped in a quagmire. Besides, even if you haven't eaten pork, you've seen a pig run. That imposter has enjoyed wealth and glory for more than 10 years. Will she allow you to go back and compete with her for favor, especially your biological mother, who looks stupid? She's definitely the kind of person who can be easily deceived. I couldn't help but give my mother a thumbs up. Mom, just from one meeting, you've figured out her character. You're so amazing. Stop flattering me. Anyway, you're not going back to the Smith family. We don't care about their little favors. I nodded like a chick pecking at rice. Mom, I'll listen to you. Rather than going back to the Smith family, it's better to stay by my mother's side. Be a happy mama's girl. By now, I've already confirmed that my mother was reborn. What she said were indeed the troubles I would encounter if I went back to the Smith family, because not only was my mother reborn, but I also transmigrated into a book, and I knew the plot that happened to the original owner. But obviously, Luke wouldn't give up so easily. The next day, he found my school and stopped me when I was leaving school. I frowned and asked him unwelcomingly, "Why are you here again?" Luke said cautiously, "Dad just wants to have a meal with you." He was much smarter than his wife. Unlike his wife, he didn't speak without thinking and stab people in the back. Is it necessary? Is it really that difficult to leave each other alone? I really didn't want to see the faces of the people from the Smith family. Luke looked hurt. Mia, what on earth did your adoptive mother tell you that made you so repelled by us? Can you stop pretending to be a loving father in front of me? It was disgusting and made me want to vomit. At the beginning, the original owner went back to the Smith family with high expectations following him. What did she get in return? Before going back, Luke talked nicely, but after going back, he was constantly dissatisfied with the original owner, thinking that she was petty and causing unrest in the family. Luke sighed and took out a box from his pocket. "You're too hostile towards me, my child. Dad just wants to make it up to you." "I don't need it. Give it to your daughter." I refused decisively without even looking at the box. For some reason, this sentence annoyed him. Luke's face darkened. "Aren't you my daughter?" "No, I'm not. Lena is." Luke frowned and said coldly, "After all, you still mind the existence of Lena. Then put yourself in my shoes. If I take you back and ask you to cut off all contact with your adoptive mother, would you agree?" This assumption was simply ridiculous. I looked at him in surprise. "Why would you think like that? Where did I show that I want to go back to the Smith family? If I made you misunderstand, I apologize to you." Luke was a bit out of control. I patted my butt and was about to leave when a surprised voice sounded behind me. "Dad, are you here to pick me up today? I've long heard of Lena, and it turns out she's in the same school as me." When Luke saw Lena, a smile appeared on his face. "Are you out of school? Wait a while and take my car home, okay? I'm so hungry." As Lena spoke, she finally seemed to notice me, a living person. Who is this? This question is really interesting. My face looks quite similar to her mother's. How could she not recognize me? It's also impossible for the Smith family not to inform her of my existence. The next second, Lena seemed to suddenly remember, and she suddenly grabbed my hand, her mouth as sweet as if smeared with honey. "Is this Sister Mia? I didn't expect us to be in the same school." What a coincidence. Luke seemed very satisfied with Lena's performance. He nodded and was about to introduce us to each other. I shook off Lena's hand and corrected her address for me. "I don't have a younger sister. Don't try to claim a relationship randomly. Thank you." Lena's smile froze. As if possessed by the face-changing skill of Sichuan opera, she sniffled. The next second, with tears in her eyes, she asked, "Doesn't sister like me?" "That's right. Sister is the daughter of the Smith family. After being separated from mom and dad for so many years, you must have some resentment in your heart. It seems you can't understand human language. I heard you were born 2 hours earlier than me, yet you call me sister. Do you know you're being so two-faced? I really hate it. I don't like being someone's sister." "Mia, do you really have to think of people so badly?" Luke's face darkened slightly, and his voice couldn't hide his disappointment and heartache. I nodded. "Lena wasn't really an innocent person anyway. How on earth did your adoptive mother teach you? You clearly, it's really boring to deal with you people from the Smith family. It's clearly your precious daughter who wasn't taught well, yet you only know how to bring up my mother." I looked at Lena and said seriously, "Take care of your parents. They're really annoying." I offended Lena completely during our first meeting. But what does it matter? She and I are destined not to be on the same path. Her identity as an imposter also means she will be constantly worried, afraid that I'll go back and compete with her for favor. Before they left, both the father and daughter had rather ugly expressions. Lena is somewhat famous at school. She's an art student, from a wealthy family, and very pretty. However, I don't like to gossip, and the two teaching buildings are quite far apart. Which is why I hadn't heard of her name before. But Luke is really annoying. Even though I refused so firmly, he still didn't give up and came to find me. Lena must know about this for sure. After all, it concerns her status as the young lady of the Smith family. On the way home from school one day, several heavily made-up girls blocked my way, and I knew Lena had started to take action. "Little girl, what's the point of studying? Why don't you come and have fun with us sisters?" They all had yellow hair, were smoking, and were grinning like hooligans. I pursed my lips and said lightly, "How much did Lena pay you to cause trouble for me?" The girls opposite were all taken aback. The leading girl pretended to be innocent and said, "Who's Lena? I don't know her." The acting is really bad. Clearly, when they heard the name, Lena, their eyes rolled several times. "Fine if you don't admit it, but remember to go back and tell her not to mess with me, or she'll bear the consequences." Wow, what a tough little sister. I like it. "Come on, let's go for a drink." She hooked my arm and tried to drag me away without asking. I didn't say anything and kicked her hard in the knee. She wasn't prepared and fell to the ground immediately. This action angered the group of girls. "You bitch, you don't appreciate my kindness and even dare to fight with our big sister." The lackeys of the group of girls rushed over, wanting to teach me a lesson and show me who's in charge. I got ready to fight back. A boy suddenly appeared from nowhere. Without saying anything, he kicked one of the girls flying. Screams rang out in the crowd. I looked in the direction of the screams. The boy slowly retracted his leg and coldly threw out a scram. The group of girls who had just threatened to teach me a lesson seemed to have collectively lost their memory in an instant. They got up from the ground and ran away in a panic. "Classmate, thank you so much for helping me solve a big problem just now." I walked over to thank him, but when he turned his face around, my words got stuck in my throat. It was William, the second male lead with a strange personality in the book. He had just transferred to No. 1 middle school and became a well-known school bully within 3 days. I felt a tingling sensation on my scalp immediately. I had lived a regular and stable life in the first 18 years. So much so that I didn't even realize I had transmigrated into a book. But since the people from the Smith family came to find me, the previous bugs seemed to have been solved one by one. Not only did the plot of the real and fake daughters come into play, but the second male lead also made an appearance. "You know me." William twitched the corner of his mouth. Only then did I notice a bruise on his face, and there were blood beads on his arm. It seemed the school bully had just finished a fierce fight. I nodded awkwardly and mumbled, "I've heard of you." William's name is much more famous than Lena's. It was already strange that he transferred to No. 1 middle school at this juncture. What's more annoying is that he beat up the son of the grade director the day after he transferred. No wonder he became famous overnight. Coincidentally, William is in the class next to mine and occasionally passes by the classroom door. When he passes by, my deskmate will grab my hand, unable to hide her excitement, and say, "William is coming, William is coming." Pulling myself out of the memories, I looked at William's bleeding hand. "You seem to be hurt quite badly. Do you want to go to the hospital?" He casually wiped away the bloodstain. "It's just a minor injury. I won't die." After saying that, he turned around and left. I scratched my head and saw a pharmacy nearby. I went in and bought some gauze and alcohol. When I came out, William had already walked quite a distance ahead. "William, wait a moment." I chased after him out of breath and handed him the bag with the medicine. "Bandage it up, or it might get infected." "I don't need it." The school bully is indeed a school bully. Even his rejection is so cool. "I've already bought it. It would be a waste if you don't use it." As I said this, I took out the gauze and alcohol and simply started bandaging his wound. "Okay, don't get it wet these few days, or it will get infected. I'm going home now. Bye." I parted ways with William. After going home, I didn't tell my mother about this either. I had a hunch that those girls wouldn't come to cause trouble for me again. As I expected, that's exactly what happened. The girls disappeared collectively, as if the incident of them causing trouble for me that day had never happened. I did run into Lena once during a PE class. From a distance, Lena looked at me for several seconds. As for what she was thinking at that moment, I had no idea. After running in the PE class, we could move freely. I was holding a table tennis racket and was about to play, but I accidentally ran into William, who was hiding in the corner smoking. "You're so bold. You dare to smoke at school." William turned around and saw it was me. He unhurriedly finished smoking the remaining stub. "What? Are you going to perform the duty of the dean and catch me for smoking?" I was at a loss for words. I looked at his hand. The gauze was long gone. "Is your hand okay?" "Thanks to you." After he said that, he put out the cigarette butt and raised his eyebrows. "You still haven't told me your name." "Mia." William let out an "oh," and marveled. "You're that top student." It's really strange that a top student can still be bullied by those girls. Almost every time I run into William, he's either fighting or smoking. His fame at school has grown even greater, and everyone is quite afraid of him. After all, even though he keeps getting into trouble, he hasn't been expelled, which shows that he has an extraordinary background. After talking to him more often, I gradually got to know him better. William doesn't talk much. He's either fighting or on his way to fight. As a result, in my school bag, besides the textbooks for class, I always have alcohol and gauze on hand. Luke saw that I wouldn't listen to him and would run away as soon as I saw him, so he simply sent his son Jack to block my way. So I soon had my second formal encounter with Lena. That day, William and I were walking home side by side when Jack suddenly stepped forward and called out, "Mia." Looking at his face, which was somewhat similar to mine, I quickly guessed his identity. William raised his eyebrows and stopped in his tracks. "Your relative?" "No, just a stranger." Jack's face turned a bit ugly. He looked at William and corrected my words. "Not a relative, I'm her biological brother." "I see. It seems your brother has something to talk to you about." "I'm leaving." William left a sentence and left me behind. I looked at his back in frustration. Before I could say anything, Jack said in a solemn voice, "Mia, this William isn't a good person. You should have less contact with him." "Did Lena tell you that?" I glanced at Lena beside Jack and the corner of my mouth curled into a sarcastic smile. She wasn't flustered at all and said with an innocent look, "I told Big Brother, but William really isn't a good person. It's better for you, Mia, to have less contact with him. Your nose is really in other people's business. If you have the time, take care of yourself first." I pushed past the brother and sister and continued walking forward. Jack quickly caught up. "Mia, don't blame Lena. She's doing it for your own good." "Yeah, for my own good. Yet she paid those girls to harass me." Double standards must be Lena's life motto. Jack, this naive and kind-hearted person, is no match for Lena at all. "Thank you. If you really want to do something good for me, just stay away from me. I'll be fine as long as I don't see you." Surprisingly, Jack wasn't angry. Instead, he took out his phone and smiled faintly. "I'm afraid that's not possible. We won't force you to go home if you don't want to, but can we at least add each other on WeChat? It will be more convenient to contact you if there's anything." I suddenly realized that the people from the Smith family had changed their strategy. After persuasion and giving gifts were both ineffective, they sent out Jack, who was ill. They even lowered their goal, just wanting to get my WeChat first. Lena also chimed in beside him. "Yeah, Mia, let's add each other on WeChat. Is it convenient for me to go home with you to visit Auntie?" She opened her eyes wide, with an innocent and well-behaved expression. "Logically speaking, giving my WeChat isn't a big deal. I can just ignore them in my contact list and pretend they don't exist. But I'm too lazy to even do the superficial thing." I directly refused Jack. "No, there's no need to contact each other." After refusing the people from the Smith family several times, I'd become extremely proficient at it, and you, Lena. If I don't go to find your parents, you also don't come to disturb my mother, although I know my mother doesn't like Lena, and the possibility of her pleasing my mother is extremely slim, but I just don't like her and wish to eliminate the possibility of Lena approaching my mother from the root. Lena's smile froze, and she looked at me with tears in her eyes. Anyway, that's my aunt, can't I even visit her? Mia, you can't be too overbearing, I really welcome you to go home. Jack actually believed such hypocritical words. Looking at the satisfaction and emotion on his face, he was almost about to say, no wonder she's the child carefully cultivated by our Smith family, she really has a broad mind. From this, I came to a conclusion, the people from the Smith family have the same bad taste, the whole family is blind. It's already bad enough that Jack thinks Lena has a broad mind, but he even thinks I'm narrow-minded. He said, Mia, you're too sensitive. You have a prejudice against us. Do you hate us for only discovering your true identity now and only coming to find you now? Mom and Dad didn't do it on purpose. No one expected that the nurse would mix you up with Lena. I took 2 steps back in horror and interrupted his long speech in a panic. Please stop making up stories for me. You're just being too sentimental. I grew up by my mother's side and was very happy. I even wish this so-called mystery of my life experience had never existed. Who has the time to hate you? It's just that I don't want to add you on WeChat. Is it necessary to impose so many unwarranted charges on me? Lena looked serious and accused me righteously. Mia, you can't talk to Big Brother like that. He's not in good health. Then he should go to the doctor. Take his medicine and rest, instead of worrying about such unimportant things. And you, use this time to quickly improve your academic scores, in case others say that the young lady of the Smith family is just a vase with beauty but no substance. Lena's face turned green after hearing this. If looks could kill, I think I would have died hundreds of times already, but it's not my fault, it's just that Lena is a poor student. No wonder she can only study art. After that day, the people from the Smith family really didn't come to harass me anymore. It was because Jack's condition had worsened. His leukemia was congenital, present from the moment he was born, but in recent years, the situation had been getting worse and worse. The doctor said they needed to consider a bone marrow transplant. Lena's identity as an imposter was discovered precisely because of this. Luke had to stabilize the company, and Mrs. Smith had to take care of her son. Who had the time to pay attention to me, their rebellious, willful, and narrow-minded biological daughter? It was fine this way. I finally had some peace and quiet. As the college entrance examination approached, the atmosphere in school became more and more tense. Even William's frequency of fighting decreased. I asked him, which school are you planning to apply to? William sneered. Which school do you think I can get into? His grades were as famous as his reputation as a school bully. He would just write his name on the test paper and then go to sleep, and he had angered the invigilators many times for this. I don't know. How would I know if you don't do the test questions? What if you're a hidden master with the ability to rank first in the grade but deliberately hand in a blank paper to keep a low profile? William looked at me with an expression as if there was nothing in my head. Have you read too many brainless novels? Hey, personal attacks are prohibited. The original work didn't mention much about William's educational background. Anyway, even if he was a hooligan now, he would still be very successful in the future. William looked up at the sky and, rarely not perfunctory, said, after the college entrance examination, I'll go abroad directly. If there are no accidents, I won't come back. I was stunned. Is it true, you're going abroad? Which country are you going to? I haven't decided yet. Let's see which one my old man chooses. He had an indifferent attitude and a casual tone, as if he wasn't talking about his future but something insignificant. Remember to tell me when you've decided on the departure date. I'll see you off at the airport. The annual college entrance examination soon arrived. I performed very well and got the highest score in the city. On the day the results came out, my mother's phone didn't stop ringing, and our home was filled with her cheerful voice announcing the good news. William sent me a message teasingly. As expected of a top student, you directly brought back the title of the top scorer in the city. When are you leaving? Don't be in a hurry, it's still early. I was skeptical, but with my mother holding a big banquet, I couldn't pay attention to these things for a while. My mother invited all her relatives and friends and celebrated it lively. The relatives from the Duncan family who had ignored me before now all changed their attitudes. They said my mother was amazing for raising a daughter who became the top scorer in the college entrance examination, and she didn't have to worry about the future. After hearing too many flattering words, my mother developed a new habit. She fell in love with taking me to banquets. After all, as soon as I showed up, everyone would say, "Ah, here comes our top scorer in the college entrance examination." My mother said this sentence was simply the most beautiful melody in the world. Now when I go out, people don't call me MS Kathy anymore. They call me the mother of the top scorer. Just the title of the mother of the top scorer could make my mother very happy. One day in the middle of August, my mother took me to a grandfather's birthday banquet again. "This is your father's and my university teacher. He's a retired professor and very prestigious. He likes children like you who are good at studying," my mother said, and her mouth curled up again. "You were too young in previous years, so I didn't take you, but now that you're 18, it's time for you to get in touch with these things." As soon as we entered the door, we saw two familiar faces, Mrs. Smith and Lena. They were also dressed up beautifully, wearing elegant and appropriate dresses and jewelry that looked very expensive. "Mom, the people from the Smith family are here too." I tugged at my mother's hand and pointed in the direction of Mrs. Smith and Lena to remind her. My mother flicked the non-existent hair by her ear. "I already guessed it, otherwise, why do you think I dressed up so grandly?" I looked at the dress my mother was wearing and the matching jade accessories around her neck and on her hands. It was indeed very grand and luxurious. Even standing in front of Mrs. Smith, my mother didn't look any less outstanding. My mother led me to greet Grandpa Wilson. When we came back, I was in a daze. It turned out to be the grandfather of the male lead, Charles. Before I could sort out my thoughts, my phone dinged, and William sent a message. "Mia, I'm leaving." I widened my eyes and quickly typed on the keyboard. "Don't tell me it's now." "Yeah, where are you?" "I'll go and see you off. It's late at night. Don't bother. Don't come to see me off." "No way. I'm not the kind of person who goes back on my word." I asked my mother for permission. "Mom, can I go back first? I suddenly have something urgent to deal with." My mother stopped boasting to others and asked in a low voice, "What's so urgent?" "It's impolite to leave as soon as we arrive. It's hard to explain in a few words. I'll explain it to you later." When I walked out of the villa, the outside and the inside seemed to be two different worlds. Inside the villa, there were elegant clothes and beautiful women, and it was very lively. But outside, it was very quiet. Only a bright moon hung in the sky, adding a bit of loneliness. William sent another message. "Don't come to see me off. I can already see you." I looked around the villa. "What? You can see me? Where are you?" "Wait a minute. William Wilson, Charles Wilson." The original work never mentioned their relationship, however, having the same surname and similar names. Was it just a coincidence? William didn't reply anymore, and my phone was silent. Maybe he had already arrived at the airport and even boarded the plane and taken off. I felt a bit melancholy and walked to the edge of the sparkling swimming pool, letting my mind go blank. Da-da-da. Suddenly there was the sound of high heels hitting the ground behind me. Judging from the sound, the person was coming straight towards me. I thought it might be Mrs. Smith. However, when I turned around, it was Lena with a gloomy face. It was a happy occasion, and everyone was in a good mood, but she had a face like a dead person. It was really unlucky. The high heels Lena was wearing were at least 10 centimeters high. We were originally about the same height, but now standing in front of me, she was a head taller than me. She looked down at me and said maliciously, "You said you wouldn't go back to the Smith family. But you show up at this kind of occasion like a clown." "Mia, being a hypocrite is really disgusting." Without the people from the Smith family present, she finally took off that layer of false kindness. "What, does the Smith family give you so little security? My appearance at Grandpa Wilson's birthday banquet scares you so much?" I asked sharply. Lena came to pick a fight and spy, which precisely showed that she was anxious. Only someone who was anxious would lose their composure. But it's understandable. If I were an imposter, I'd probably be worried too. "Who asked you to have an improper background?" With a light sentence, Lena's face suddenly changed, and she lost control of her emotions. "Mia, why are you still alive? Why didn't you die in that plane crash with your adoptive parents?" "If I die, you can sleep peacefully. I'm alive, of course, to make you restless." I raised my lips and answered almost maliciously, "In fact, it would be nice if we each minded our own business." Although I didn't like Lena, if she didn't provoke me, we could have lived in peace. But obviously, she didn't think so. "You're a poor person, yet you deliberately came to this birthday banquet just to disgust me. You want to make Mom and Dad feel guilty and increase your importance in their hearts." Lena had been distracted throughout the banquet, because she noticed that her mother's eyes frequently looked at Mia and her mother. Although she seemed calm on the surface, she was extremely jealous inside. Why did Mia have to get involved in such an occasion? Why did she have to remind Mom and Dad that their biological daughter was out there? Dad didn't say it, but he cared about the blood relationship in his heart. He must want to hand the company over to Mia, which was why he kept looking for her. At that time, where would there be a place for her? Lena. In this family, looking at Lena's suspicious face. I was so angry that I laughed. A poor person. Did you see that set of jade accessories on my mother? It's worth 30 million yuan on the market. There are other kinds of jade at home, and their total value exceeds 100 million yuan. We also have several villas. However, the old residential area next to the school has a good location. It only takes 5 minutes to get to school. My mother is happy to let me sleep for an extra half an hour. The people from the Smith family were quite funny. They only saw that my mother was a middle school teacher. The house we lived in was old and shabby, so they thought we were poor and even tried to bribe my mother with 10 million yuan. They definitely didn't know that my father had invested in several companies before he died, and the annual dividends were enough for my mother and me to live comfortably for 3 lifetimes. With each word I said, Lena's face turned paler. She firmly believed that as the young lady of the Smith family, she came from a wealthy family, and I, the real daughter of the Smith family who had been living outside, should be living a hard life eating coarse food. Unfortunately, the truth was greatly different from her perception, and Lena was severely hit. She murmured to herself, "How is it possible? How can you be rich?" I could only spread my hands helplessly. What can I do? We're just this rich. Not only is my mother rich, but my biological parents are also surprisingly rich. Shut up. They're not your parents. They're mine. Lena's gaze seemed to be able to burn a hole through me. I sneered and looked at her with disdain. I just don't want to recognize them. As long as I want to, it has nothing to do with you at all. However, thinking about it, I wouldn't lose anything if I recognized them. Otherwise, wouldn't all that wealth really go to you? I wasn't interested in the Smith family, but I couldn't stand Lena's self-righteous face, since she was making me feel bad. I had to give it back to her. Lena widened her eyes and asked tremblingly, "Mia, what do you mean?" I raised my hand and patted her delicate little face, and then smiled and left a sentence. "It means we'll just have to wait and see." This sentence had a great impact on Lena. A fake daughter who was always anxious and afraid of the real daughter's return was most afraid of me going back to the Smith family, wasn't she? Lena went crazy, just because of my few ambiguous words. She developed the intention to kill me. She attacked me from behind and pushed me into the swimming pool. The temperature in August wasn't low, but there was a temperature difference between day and night. I was shivering all over from the cold. "Lena, are you crazy?" I emerged from the water and cursed Lena. Lena, who was standing above, didn't say anything. Even more, while I was swimming towards the shore, she took a pole from the side and stabbed it at me. At that moment, I realized she wanted to kill me. "Mia, you shouldn't have been alive in this world for a long time. Just die. As long as you're dead, no one can threaten me anymore. As long as you're dead, Mom and Dad won't care that I'm not their biological daughter anymore." I was choked by the water several times because of her stabbing. I was so angry that when she stabbed again, I grabbed the pole and pulled it hard. Lena also became a drenched chicken and came down to accompany me. But I underestimated how ruthless Lena was. Even so, she didn't want me to get out of the water. She held me tightly, as if she wanted to drag me to death to eliminate future troubles. The water rushed into my nose and mouth from all directions. I couldn't catch my breath, and my lungs seemed to explode. At that moment, I seemed to smell the smell of death. I didn't know how long it had passed before I regained consciousness. It seemed that someone was pressing on my abdomen and blowing into my mouth. I opened my eyes and looked at that face blankly. William, wasn't he already gone? William pinched my face, and his expression showed relief. "You're finally awake." Hearing the voice, my mother rushed over crying and hugged me tightly. "Mia, you're finally awake. How do you feel? Is there anywhere else that's uncomfortable? You almost scared me to death. Why did you drown for no reason?" My mother asked several questions in a row. I didn't know which one to answer for a moment, so I could only cling to her warm embrace greedily. "I'm sorry, Auntie. Mia was implicated by me because she was trying to save me." Lena's voice suddenly came from the side. "Auntie, if you want to blame someone, blame me. It's all my fault. I accidentally fell into the swimming pool, and my leg cramped. Lena was also wet all over and was wearing a suit jacket that someone had given her. Mrs. Smith stood beside her, and her worry couldn't be hidden on her face, looking at Lena with red eyes and a red nose. She looked extremely innocent, but the words she said were so shameless. I struggled to get up from my mother's embrace, walked up to Lena, and asked her coldly, "I saved you, are you sure?" Lena's eyes flickered, and she forced a grateful smile. "Yes, Mia, thanks to you. You're my savior." Before she could finish, I directly pushed her into the swimming pool. The onlookers immediately became chaotic. Mrs. Smith rushed over to hit me. "What are you doing? Why did you push Lena into the water? Do you want to kill her?" My mother was quick-witted and reached out to stop her. "How dare you hit my daughter? You're dreaming." Mrs. Smith seemed to be on the verge of tears from anger. "Kathy, what a good daughter you've raised. She bullies Lena right in front of me. Wouldn't she kill someone behind my back?" If she had shown a bit of concern for me when I just woke up, now the expression on her face was undisguised disgust. "Kill someone? You're right. It's just that your good daughter almost killed me." "Lena, don't you think there are no surveillance cameras around the swimming pool? You're definitely going to jail." Lena's face froze in the pool, and sure enough, she subconsciously looked up to find the surveillance cameras. "Mom, I didn't go down to save Lena. She deliberately pushed me down and tried to drown me." Mrs. Smith blurted out, "Impossible, you're slandering her." Of course, she believed the good daughter she had raised for 18 years. "You think I'm framing your daughter? It doesn't matter, let the police deal with this matter." My mother didn't hesitate to take out her phone and call the police, just as Mrs. Smith subconsciously believed Lena. My mother didn't doubt my words for a moment. Lena acted on a sudden impulse. When she pushed me into the pool, she surely didn't think about whether there were surveillance cameras or not. But when I proposed calling the police and my mother also said she would pursue the matter to the end, Lena panicked. I don't know what she said to Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith, who had been extremely tough just now, said she wanted to talk to my mother. After being refused, she went to find Mrs. Wilson. The police arrived quickly and took statements from me and Lena. Of course, Lena and I had different versions of what happened, but it wasn't a big problem because there were several surveillance cameras in the yard of the Wilson family. At the time of the incident, Lena and I were not in a blind spot of the surveillance, and the cameras above were clear enough to capture everything. I was very confident that I could definitely bring Lena to justice. However, after the police checked the surveillance of the Wilson family, they told us seriously, the surveillance is broken, and the records have been lost since 3 days ago. My mother widened her eyes and said, "What do you mean?" "It just so happens that the process of my daughter being attacked wasn't recorded. For now, that's the case." I don't believe it. This is the Wilson family. How could they not know that the surveillance has been malfunctioning for 3 days? Could it be that someone deliberately tampered with it? Lena said humbly, "Auntie, you and Mia really misunderstood me. I'm not that kind of person. Don't call me auntie. I don't have a niece as ruthless as you. I thought you were just an imposter, taking someone else's place. I didn't expect you to be capable of attempted murder." My mother stared at Mrs. Smith and sneered, "Alice, this is the good daughter your Smith family has raised. The current head of the Wilson family is Simon, the son of Grandpa Wilson and the father of the male lead. Mrs. Smith and Simon's wife are close friends. Just this relationship is worthy of deep thought." However, neither I nor my mother expected that the Smith family would be so shameless. They resorted to all means to cover up for Lena. "Mom, forget it." Although my mother is a student of Grandpa Wilson, in terms of friendship, the Smith family and the Wilson family are surely closer. Just think of it as being bitten by a dog. I looked at Mrs. Smith's face. When it came to the matter between Lena and me, I never expected them to be fair. "Alice, your Smith family will get their comeuppance, sooner or later." My mother left a harsh warning and helped me to leave. Wait a minute, it was William. When I came to my senses, I realized that I had been held in my mother's arms since I woke up, and I didn't notice when William left or where he came from now. Mrs. Wilson looked at him unfriendly and said with a hint of warning, "William, at this time, you should be on a flight to the United States." Unexpectedly, I learned from Mrs. Wilson where William was going. William ignored her, held a USB drive in his hand, and said calmly, "The bug in the surveillance has been fixed, and this USB drive contains the footage from the poolside tonight." "William," Mrs. Wilson called him angrily. In contrast, my mother, who had been frowning and extremely angry just now, suddenly broke into a smile. "Son, you're my great benefactor for life. Later, William told me that he had been in the Wilson family that day but didn't show up. When my mother and I arrived at the Wilson family, he saw us from upstairs but didn't come down to greet us. I came to the Wilson family alone, and I can just leave quietly by myself. When he sent me the message, he was already in the car on the way to the airport. Somehow, I asked the driver to turn around and come back. Then he saw me and Lena by the pool. He even guessed that Mrs. Wilson would choose to make peace with the Smith family and settle the matter, so he copied the surveillance video first and informed them later. He looked at me seriously and said, "Mia, fortunately, I came back." Yes, fortunately, he came back. I owe William my life. Lena's attempted murder was confirmed by conclusive evidence, and she was quickly arrested. However, something unexpected happened before her arrest. Lena, a young girl in the prime of her life, was the beloved daughter of the Smith family. How could she be willing to go to prison at such a young age? Lena didn't accept her fate and didn't want to be arrested without resistance. She even drove away when the police were arresting her. She was running ahead, and the police car was chasing after her. In a panic, Lena hit someone, and the car also crashed through the guardrail on the side of the road. The iron bar of the guardrail pierced into her thigh. When my mother heard this news, she said with a sense of relief, if she hadn't run away and had just gone to prison obediently, she would have been out in at most 3 years. Now, she ran away, hit someone, and even broke a leg. She can't escape a life sentence. Serves her right, because of this incident with Lena. The Smith family was severely weakened. I heard that they were going to leave this city. Coincidentally, Jack's condition had worsened, and they were going to seek treatment abroad. Luke came to find me before they left. Compared to the first time he came to find me, he looked much more haggard and seemed to have aged several years. It's too late to say anything. Consider this as a college entrance gift from your father. It was a property ownership certificate and a bank card. I don't need it. Do you think giving some money can cover up the good deeds your wife has done? I refused him coldly. Luke smiled bitterly. I don't intend to cover it up. Your mother isn't in a good state either. What Lena has done really disappoints us. After saying that, Luke put down the bank card and the property ownership certificate and left. I originally wanted to return them, but my mother stopped me. Why return them? This is your mental damage compensation. The Smith family owes you this. Don't bother with those idiots in the Smith family. Clean up and invite William to have dinner together. William is Simon's illegitimate son. He returned to the Wilson family in March but wasn't liked by the people in the Wilson family. Mrs. Wilson deliberately chose the day of Grandpa Wilson's birthday to send William away, but something unexpected happened. William didn't leave and even ruined Mrs. Wilson's plan. Therefore, he angered Mrs. Wilson. After my mother learned about his experience, she felt extremely sorry for him. She said heroically, "It's okay if William wants to go abroad. Auntie will pay for it. You can go and learn some skills and come back to discuss Simon and his wife." Although the identity of an illegitimate child is not glorious, William's situation is quite special. At that time, Simon took a fancy to William's mother and deceived her into thinking that he was unmarried. Simon is a scumbag who has a stable relationship at home but flirts around outside. Later, the truth came out. When William's mother learned that Simon was already married and had children, she didn't pester him and directly left with William. Until she died, she never contacted Simon again. However, in the Wilson family, William is still a thorn in Mrs. Wilson's side. William sat across from me and said indifferently, "I'm not going abroad. I didn't want to go abroad in the first place." "So you're staying in the country?" "Yeah." When William spoke, he glanced at me. My mother smiled slyly beside us. "It's also good not to go abroad. The development in the country is also promising. But William, what are your plans for your future?" "I'll take the college entrance examination again and go to Mia's school." I thought of William's college entrance examination score of more than 300 points and couldn't help but fall into thought. In the original work, as the second male lead, William constantly confronted the male lead, Charles, and spoiled many of Charles's plans. In this life, during the time when William returned to the Wilson family, he only met Charles once. After William repeated his senior year of high school, he completely cut off his ties with the Wilson family. I don't know how the story between the male lead, Charles, and the female lead, Jenny, will develop, but William and Charles have already become two parallel lines that never intersect. I thought William was joking when he said he would get into my school. Unexpectedly, a year later, he really stood on the campus of T University, removed the leaf on my shoulder, and said to me, Mia, I did it. William, you're amazing, to go from a score of more than 300 points to where he is now in just a year. He is definitely a tough guy. I had no choice. Auntie Kathy said that you're a top student and can't have a poor student as a boyfriend. Huh? I widened my eyes. When did she say this? That fake daughter has a deep scheming. If you go back, she will keep framing you, and your biological parents will dislike you more and more. Your biological brother has leukemia, and they will deceive you into donating bone marrow to him. Once they've used you, they'll kick you aside, and in the end, you'll get cancer and lose your life. Therefore, William lowered his head, and his handsome profile was extremely charming in the sunlight. Do you remember when you asked me a year ago what reward I wanted for saving you? Of course, I remember. William replied that he hadn't thought of it yet and would think about it carefully. This thinking took a whole year. Now I've thought it through. I swallowed, suddenly feeling a little nervous. Mia, would you like to be my girlfriend? I opened my mouth, but my mind went blank. Don't you want to? He stared at me and asked. I shook my head instinctively. No, you hardly contacted me this year. I thought you were going to cut off ties with me. That's because getting into T University is really difficult. I was afraid that if I contacted you, I would lose my motivation. William looked completely honest, with a hint of distress on his face. I couldn't help laughing. It's hard to believe that you would admit that something is difficult. To be precise, it's difficult to chase a girlfriend. After all, my girlfriend is too excellent, William answered seriously. I don't think I've agreed yet, have I? Auntie Kathy has agreed. Aren't you a mama's girl? Do you dare to disobey Auntie Kathy? I blushed from William's teasing and pretended to hit him, but he caught my hand. William hugged me and said in a hoarse voice, the conditions for marrying you have already been negotiated. Whether you like it or not, you have to agree. What conditions? Has my mother been brainwashed by you? The matter hasn't even started yet, and he's already planning to sell his daughter. Close your eyes, and I'll tell you. I knew there was something tricky about his words, but I still obeyed. What was supposed to be him telling me turned into a mint-flavored kiss. That's all about this story. Do you have any insights after watching the above story? Feel free to tell us in the comment sections below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe my channel please. See you next time.